using your CAS. So we've already covered addition and subtraction, multiplication and division, and also expanding brackets. With substitution, I've got two different methods to use. Now, it does depend on whether you are utilising these values as a once-off, or if you're going to be using these values concurrently for a few different expressions. So the first method I'm going to show you uses a sort of a straight line kind of symbol. I'll show you how to find that. Let's start with a new document. New document, and we want to calculate up. So just reminding everyone what to do there. So my first value, or my first expression is 2PQ minus R. So I'm looking on page 52, 53 of my textbook. And for this, I put in my 2 times P times Q, subtract R. That was the easy bit. Now we move on to allocating values. So what we're trying to find is a number at the end of this. So we're going to substitute in a number for each of these letters. So we now use our control, and then we use our equal sign on the left-hand side here. As you can see, it's got a couple little blue characters above it. So I press that equal sign, and up pops a menu. We have our greater than and less thans, our not equal to, and our less than and equal to and greater than and equal to, depending on which side you're looking at, and our substitution line. This line's going to be used for a few different things, but in this case, it's used as substitute. So click this. So far we've got our 2 times P times Q, subtract R, with our little substitution line. This separates the expression from the pronumerals or the letters. So we start off with P, and according to page 52, we are allocating P to the value of 2. So we put in P, we use the equal sign on the left-hand side. We don't use enter, we use equals. P equals 2. Then I use my space bar down the bottom, and I type in A-N-D. It recognises the word and as and. Put another space bar in there, and I'm going to allocate a letter for Q. Allocate a number for Q. Q is equal to, according to this, -3. So I use my negative button, not my subtraction button. So subtraction's over here, negative's down here, and 3. Then another space. So just like you're going to be typing on a keyboard, every time you put a new word, you put a space in between it. A-N-D space R, then my 3 pronumerals done, is equal to, and according to page 52, R is equal to 8. Then I hit enter. I get -20. I can double check this. I'm just going to go 2 times 2 times, now it doesn't like minus, so I put in -3, subtract 8, enter. Yep, gives me exactly the same answer. So all I've done is I've substituted those letters for, or substituted those letters with numbers. Now, each time I want to use this same P equals 2, Q equals -3, and R equals 8, unfortunately I have to retype it. My second expression is R squared. Now I can use the little hat with a 2, but it's just as easy to press that squared button. Plus 2 times Q. If I was to hit enter now, it would just give me the same expression as what I've got. It doesn't recognise that P equals 2, Q equals -3, and R equals 8. So I have to go and allocate everything again. My control button and my equals sign. And then choose that long straight line. Then I type in P equals 2, put a space, A-N-D, another space, Q is equal to -3, another space, A-N-D, space, and R is equal to 8. And I hit enter. 58. Now I've pre-calculated and I've followed the written examples and done this by hand. It does actually equal 58. So R squared is 8 times 8 plus 2 times negative 6, which means 64 subtract 6 gives you 58. And our third expression is 5p. I'm going to cheat and use my keyboard here. So you'll see all these buttons jumping, the little red dots jumping back and forth. Oops, got to put a times in there. So 5 times p times 3 q subtract qr and close my bracket. So I have 5p times 3q minus qr. Now this is part C in our substitution using CAS. And again, I have to still put in my substitution values of p equaling 2, q equaling, now I have to use this button here because it doesn't like my negative button on my keyboard, and equaling 8. 150. Again, I checked this earlier. So because I'm having to use the same values for our pronumerals or our letters, this is just too long-winded, especially if I'm sitting in an exam or an assessment. So I'm not going to say I'm going to cheat, but I'm going to cheat. I'm going to use something called a method of storing values. So for example, if I wanted the number 2 to be the value for P, I would press 2, then I'd press Control and this VAR button, because up the top it says store with a little arrow. As you can see, I've got my arrow there. So I call it the store button. And then I assign that to the letter P and hit enter. As you can see, the value for P is 2. If I type in P and then hit enter, it gives me 2. You'll also have noted that P is bold when you're typing into your calculator. Secondly, I will allocate the value -3 for Q. So -3, always do your value first, then do your pronumeral. So it's -3 is the value of, where's my Q, and hit enter. Then I put in one more, which is my R value. Do R is the value, oops, wrong way. We'll try that again. 8 is the value for R and hit enter. Now, if I wanted to type in my first expression, I would put 2 times P times Q subtract R. As you can see down the bottom here, they're in bold, but that's just to indicate that they've been allocated values. I hit enter. My second expression is R squared plus 2Q. Gives me 58. I'm going to scroll back up here if I can figure this out. There we go. And this gave me 58 before as well. And my third one is 5p times 3. What's inside my bracket? Q minus QR, close the bracket and hit enter. 150. So with this second method, I used it because I didn't have to change the values of the pronumerals, P, Q, and R. If your values vary, then the first method is just as efficient. But with the second method, it just saves a bit of time. All right, my next video, I will move on to substituting into formulas, not just into algebraic expressions. Thanks.